So while I was minding my own business, editing people's photos and trying to provide beautiful pieces of art for people, one of my business neighbors, who is now a dear friend, and I really, really thank God for him. But at the time, I couldn't appreciate him, and nor did he appreciate me. We butted heads for about 4 years. He was what I would call God's thorn in my side. That, I believe fully that God uses certain people to push you so that you get where you need to be. It has happened. It happened with me back in Orlando when someone kind of pushed me out to California, and now again, but it wasn't appreciated at the time. Every time I would see him at like a neighborhood meeting, he would say, why do you open the doors to the public? Why would you buy a commercial property that you don't open the doors to the public? And I would think to myself, why don't you just mind your own business? But about 4 years into it, it just finally got to me. And I guess I had worked on the property, little corners here and there, as I, over time, I felt more comfortable with opening the doors. But I really didn't have any purpose because it was all by appointment, and there wasn't really a reason to open the doors. But I did it to placate him and the neighbors. And this room used to be a gallery. I had pictures all over the walls. Many of you remember when you still come back and tell me, you remember there were babies everywhere. And this room used to be just where people would come and order photos from me. We'd sit for hours. And after I opened the doors to the public, this little trickle of people, not a lot, but a little trickle of people started coming in. And I quickly realized they liked the place. And I never had any feedback like that. My photo customers and I were always focused on the job at hand, but not the environment. And I suddenly saw through their eyes a different perspective on the whole place. And that Sally would bring back Susie, and Susie would bring back Jane, and Jane would bring back, it just, but I didn't have anything to offer them. And what they were doing is they were asking me all kinds of questions. Oh, how much is your lamp? And how much is your writing pen? These writing pens, people had a lady last week ask me about my writing pens still. Had these fancy pens, and they wanted to buy them off my desk. And I remember I sold my phone. I had an old-fashioned phone, and that went away. And then my aroma, that was the big one. I used to have aroma here, and they wanted to buy that. And if it wasn't nailed down, they wanted it. And I think what comes to my mind were two very humorous things. It was like they appreciated so much this kind of Carmel, Monterey vibe that I tried to bring here, that they even misunderstood me sometimes, but still loved it. One lady, I had just, there was the neighborhood event going on, and I had covered the couches outside with white couches with white sheets, and I had put white sheets on the fabric so that, obviously keep them clean. And then I was going to remove them before the event. Well, this lady walks in and she goes, oh, I just have to say, I love the way you throw your sheets in the garden. And she goes, it's just so special the way you throw your sheets in the garden. And I didn't have the heart to tell her it wasn't intentional. I was just covering my couches so that they wouldn't get bird droppings on them. I said nothing. She just liked it. And then another lady went into the bathroom and she goes, I noticed you don't have a mirror in the bathroom. Is that the European way? I said, no, we just haven't gotten around to it yet. Haven't had time. And I guess my point is it seemed like I could do no wrong. They were just so happy to be here. And yet they were also very, very distracting, because I'm getting paid good money to edit photos. And suddenly this little stream is becoming a bit of a challenge for me because I can't get my work done. And now I'm selling stuff off my desk, and it's maybe enough to pay a light bill, nothing to write home about, but nonetheless, there was an interest. And one time I had, I think 3 or 4 ladies, you know who you are. They were sitting in the gardens and they asked me if they could buy my succulents. And I remember I was selling my succulent leaves for $1 per succulent leaf. $1. Because they wanted them. So I gave them. And then they went home and they grew their succulents. But anyways, the point being is I thank God for my neighbor, because if he hadn't encouraged me to open the doors to the public, I would have never understood that there was anything more than photography. So this situation was getting a little out of hand, and I jokingly said to them, listen, do you want to eat here or something? I mean, what do you want me to build you a cafe? And the people reacted to it, and yeah, that would be really nice. And so as a joke, I just put a guest book out, and I said, well, sign here if you want me to build you a cafe. And about 1,500 people signed pretty quickly. And then I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? What have I done? These people really, really want to come here. And that'll be the next chapter.